Got a secret, can you keep it? Swear this one you'll save. Better lock it in your pocket, taking this one to the grave.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Sendler.
Hello, sweetie.
Thank you for taking this time to come back from the dead to give us this interview.
It's no problem at all, darling.
Anyway, I guess what the whole world wants to know right now is what you've done to be recognized worldwide.
Well, I guess it could be contributed to the fact that I saved around 2,500 Jewish children from the Nazi concentration camps. That could be it.
Wow, that's a lot to accomplish. How did you do it?
Well, I can't take credit for it all, of course. Me and some other people worked tirelessly in the group Children's Division of Zagota, creating false documents to be able to rescue the children, and then smuggle them out of the country with false identities and enlist them to orphanages as Catholic children so they'd be safe.
And were you ever caught?
Well, of course, I was. I suffered torture and had both my legs broken, but it would take more than that to get any information about those poor children out of me.
And how exactly did you manage to smuggle the children out?
Well, there were lots of ways, but the main ones were me using my papers of a Polish social worker which I had, and my friend's papers of the Contagious Disease Department which he had, to enter the ghettos where the children were held. We would then use ambulances to smuggle the children out by hiding the children under the stretchers, or taking them out through the sewers or other secret passages. We also carried several children out in suitcases and trunks, those poor dears.
And were the parents ever reunited with the children?
Unfortunately, most of the time they were not. But whenever we did manage to find a parent for one of the children that we had saved, that was one of the best feelings in the world.
And how did you keep track of all the children that you saved?
Well, it was a risky thing to keep all the information written down, but we chanced it. We wrote each child's birth details and heritage and real names on a piece of paper, put it in a jar, and buried each one individually in one of our members' backyards.
Wow. Were there many times that you thought you might die from the hands of the Germans?
Of course, many times, but this one time stood out the most. It was after I'd been put in jail and tortured. When they asked me if I would tell them any information about the other group leaders. I fed them lies, of course. But when they found out, they were so angry that they sentenced me to death. Luckily for me, the other group leaders had bribed the executioner to help me escape. He then told everyone I was dead, and there were posters put up everywhere saying I'd been killed.
That must have been a funny feeling.
Yes, I can't imagine what would have happened if my friends had not helped me. God is on my side.
And what happened after the war finished?
Well, I visited all the yards, dug out all the jars, and tried to find the parents of the children.
That sounds like a lot of work.
It was, but my life is not as important as 2,500 others. Especially since they were children and still had more than half their life ahead of me.
Aw. Well, now that the world has recognized you, I'm sure you're getting many awards for your bravery.
Well, yes, but my biggest regret is that my other co-workers, who also risk their lives daily, are not around to enjoy the rewards.
Is there anyone you'd like to thank for your recognition?
Well, primarily, I'd like to thank God. Without his help, none of this would have worked. But secondly, I'd like to thank the 4 founders of Life in a Jar. Without them, my work would have been hardly recognized. A fun fact, my name was only featured on one website before the Life in a Jar project. After their project, my name has been featured on at least 8,000 and counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Next page. 1.
Amazing. And who are these founders?
Well, there were 3 9th graders and 1 11th grade student. They'd been given a project to do for school about the Holocaust, and they were given a box of clippings with people who had helped the Jews, and they found my name on one. They had never heard of me, so they decided to research me, but no information could be found. Then they heard amazing news. I was still alive. Thank goodness.
And then what?
Well, they immediately sent me a letter which enclosed their project, which they had started to write a script for. I thought it was a great idea and replied, and they decided to visit me in Poland. They managed to raise enough money in 2001 and came to visit. There, I told them everything which I had done about the Holocaust, and they wrote it all down. That is how the world knows my story.
Thank you very much, Irena Sendler, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Got a secret, can you keep it? Swear this one you'll save. Better lock it in your pocket, taking this one to the grave. If I show you that no, you won't tell what I say.
Wait, this might take a while. Oh, wait, stop filming. Stop it! Don't start it!
And posters were put up.
afternoon, Mrs. Sendler.
You stupid!
But you've been recognized worldwide.
Well,
Good afternoon, Mrs. Sendler.
hello, sweetie. You suck! Luckily for me, that my group leaders had bribed the executioner to
Nicole!
who were talking to me.
No, what?
You suck, Tony.
Now joining us in this... Nicole! Stop it! Today, joining us in the studio, there will be Irena Sendler.
Contagious disease department to be able to come into the gospel.
Sorry, keep going. 1969, she's dead. And how exactly did you manage to smuggle the children out?
Well, there were lots of ways, but the main ones were using an ambulance. No.
What are we doing?
Let's go. Yeah, well,